So, do you want to explain the concept of Final Girl in case someone don't know?
So the final girl, it's in slasher movies, it's the only person that survives, and it's usually that like little innocent girl that doesn't have sex in the movie and she does everything right. And then maybe the concept changed with time.
Let's start with Gail Weathers from Scream.
Gail, she is awful. Like, she's an awful person, but I think she's a really interesting final girl. Scream does things really differently because she's not the only final girl, and she's not the classic final girl. Like, she's really work driven. She's a really bad person a lot of the time.
She's really manipulative.
She's really manipulative. She gets married, so she obviously has sex at some point. So yeah, I think although she's not a nice person, she's a really interesting character.
Yeah, I think as well that Gail, just as Sydney, there are excellent characters in the Scream franchise as a whole. But I think Gail is like an opposite from Sydney, because Sydney is the small town girl that wants to, grow and etc. etc. And when we meet Gail, she's already established as someone famous, someone who already got what she wanted especially in the first movie, and then we have some arc from her that she falls and rises again.
And yet at the same time, although she is already established, she wants more. She's very work driven and fame driven too. I think she's always looking for the next big thing. I think I would go for S.
Alright, so let's go to the next one. That is Julie from I Know What You Did Last Summer. Do you remember her?
Yeah, I was looking at her and was like, I remember your face, but I don't remember who you are. And I think she's really forgettable. That is the thing. Just like the movie, she is really forgettable. She doesn't have much of a personality. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being lucky, but at the same time, it doesn't really stand out. I like when they show like abilities and skills so they can survive.
When I was selecting the characters to make this list, I think, oh, yeah, there is a final girl on I Know What You Did Last Summer.
She's not the only one to survive, because her boyfriend survives.
Yeah, that is Fred Prinze Jr.
Yeah.
Just like in the book, they survive.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like, she doesn't offend me, but she's not good.
Okay, so the next one is Maxine from X.
I
prefer Pearl, but Pearl is not a final girl.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I don't know. I didn't like X as much as I thought I would like. I don't like Maxine. Like, she's not a good person. She's, I think, a little bit more like Gail, if we think about it. She's not the classic final girl, but at the same time, she's not charismatic to me.
What we know about her is that she's a daughter of a priest and she wants fame, and she's willing to do whatever it takes to achieve that fame and go out of that suburban and religious life that she probably abominates.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of that is because of her boyfriend, that it's making up her mind.
But Maxine, just for Maxine, doesn't stand out to me.
Yeah, I agree. Julie probably would be D tier for me, and Maxine would be C.
I think they're both C for me, but Maxine first. Maxine is a bit better than Julie.
All right, next one, Ripley.
I love Ripley. Yeah. I think she's
like, the badass.
Yeah, she is amazing. Like, she's really different from other final girls too. Like, she is not your typical very feminine character.
Yeah.
She is the only person that is willing to follow the protocols too. Like, when they come back with the infected passenger, she's the only one that is willing to follow the rules, and people don't listen to her, and everything goes downhill after that. And I think she's charismatic. She's willing to do what it takes to survive. And she's like physically strong too, I think. She passes me that vibe that she's kind of physically strong.
Yeah, in the second Alien movie, she even wears like an armor.
Yeah.
And that's the best thing about Ripley is that she's a final girl, but it's not in the innocent
Yeah.
aspect of it. It's really different from Julie, for instance.
And I think also, like I was saying, I like when the characters, of course, they can have luck, but I really like when they show skill, and Ripley knows everything that she's doing.
It's all about skill. Her survival, it's all about skill.
Exactly. It's all about skill. She knows what she's doing, and she's doing her job really well.
The next one is Mia from the Evil Dead reboot.
Okay. I wasn't even recognizing her as Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist.
Yeah, but her playlist is a chainsaw.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't really like the reboot. I like the latest movie.
Evil Dead Rise.
Yeah, but the reboot I don't like. And also I think she doesn't really stand out to me. Even though she does really like gruesome things in the movie, and she does what she can to survive, because honestly she's the first person to be possessed.
Yes.
Which is surprising that she survives, but at the same time her character doesn't stand out to me.
I thought you would like her just because of that, because she's possessed. She goes through hell and then comes back and survives at the end. And I think this makes her a good character, even though her brother that saves her, and then he dies.
Her story is interesting, but her as a character doesn't stand out to me. I think that is the issue.
I think she's skillful. I think probably for me it would be A category.
No, I think
B tier or A tier.
I think I'm going to put her in C. But she's better than, what is her name?
Julie.
Julie.
You f***ing hate Julie.
Yeah, I really...
Put her in D already.
Okay. She's in D. I don't even remember her name, so I don't think she deserves to be in C.
The next one is Nancy from A Nightmare on Elm Street. The first movie and the third movie, but she's only a final girl in the first one.
I think she is really strong in the sense of she knows what's happening, and she tries really hard to survive, even though she's not like super skillful or super strong. And she goes to places that I would never be able to, like I said on the first video, I would never be able to spend so much time without sleeping, or go through all of my friends dying and all of these things,
There's one aspect of Nancy that I think it's usually overlooked when you talk about Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. In the first movie, she learns how to deal with Freddy. And in the third movie, we learned that she studied psychology just to, learn how to help other people do the same thing.
Yeah. She's not like, she doesn't have physical skills like Ripley, for example, but she's really smart, and that is the thing that you said. She's thrown into a situation and she learns how to deal with that situation, and she starts preparing for future situations like we see in the third movie. So I think A category.
And she is willing to die, and she dies just to save the other people and kill Freddy on the third movie. Yeah, so I think Nancy is a
really good
final girl. But not as good as the next one, that is Laurie Strode, that I think is my favorite final girl.
She's kind of...
I think Laurie is the face of a final girl.
Yeah, she's the face of a final girl, and I think she's similar to Nancy in the sense of she's thrown to a situation that she has never dealt with that before. Like on the first movie, she doesn't know. She's like a normal person, and she's being constantly followed by Michael Myers and the generational trauma that we see in the movie. And I think Jamie Lee Curtis is really charismatic. Jamie
Lee Curtis is extremely charismatic, and I think the way she portrays Laurie in the recent trilogy, especially in the first one, that is, she's traumatized, and this broke her family and what she could.
Yeah.
And when you see the first movie, you can see that. You can see why she was so afraid of Michael Myers. When she must face Michael Myers, even though when she was a teenager, she was resourceful. She tried her best.
Yeah. I think she's going in the S category. I'm not going to make the order here because it's really hard. But yeah, definitely S category. Her and what is her name again? Nancy. I think they're the best examples of normal people in a bad situation and taking the best that they can out of that situation.
So the next one is Tara from Scream 5 and 6.
I think she's an interesting character, especially from what we see. Like in the Scream 5, she doesn't stand out to me that much. She's charismatic. I like Jenna Ortega, but she doesn't really stand out. But what I like to see in Scream 6 is because we have these two sisters that have completely different reactions to what happened to them.
Yeah.
I think her reaction is just really genuine. She just wants to live her life. She's not only trying to survive physically, but also mentally.
Yeah, it's like a mechanism, a defense mechanism
Yeah.
that she's developing. But Sam, that is her sister, can't believe that.
Yeah, I think both of their reactions are genuine and valid. You
Yeah.
know, I think in B or A, but she's not. I don't like her as much as I like Nancy, so maybe B. But I think she's really interesting, and her story and like the psychological aspects of her character are really important in the movie.
Alright, and the next one is Sally from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, I remember her. I think I would be her if I were in her situation. That she was just screaming, crying, throwing up. Like, she didn't know what was going on. And I like that in the movie I could put myself in her shoes. But at the same time, she's someone that got out of there because of sheer luck. Which, again, it's valid, but it's not interesting.
I think in real life it's the most probable thing to happen
Yeah.
to survive a serial killer. But you know, in the newer Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie that is a sequel to the first one, they try to do the same thing they do to Laurie.
Yeah.
You know, saying, oh, Sally grew up to be this badass that wants to kill Leatherface at all costs and she's ready to do, but it doesn't land.
Yeah, I think the first thing it's because they didn't need to do the same thing and it didn't do any of the things that it was trying to do.
I wanted to like the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre because I don't like the other ones.
Yeah, I think I'm going to put her in C. Like, she's not with
Julie.
but I think that Maxine and Zoe's Extraordinary Playlists are still better.
The next one is Sam from Scream.
I have to put her in the same category as
Tara
because they're a duo. The movie works so well and the characters work so well because they're a pair.
And their dynamic is different from the one of Sidney and Gale, even though Sidney and Gale are also some sort of pair in the other movies. And the last one is Sidney from Scream, Sidney Prescott.
I'm really divided because I like the fact that we see Sidney through so many movies. Like, we see her whole journey. It's different from Laurie because if we're going to talk about the Halloween chronology, we can't really consider almost all of the movies. We consider the first one and then the 3 most recent ones, if we're going to talk about Laurie, basically. And I like that we can consider all of the movies in Scream, and I like that we see Sidney growing up and changing. But at the same time, I think she's kind of a bland character. She's strong, and I think she does what she has to do to survive. But at the same time, she doesn't really stand out to me. I think especially because there's Gale, and Gale stands out to me much more.
I think Sidney would be A tier easily for me. Gale mentions that Sidney deserves happiness.
Yeah.
And I think this is fitting for her. I think Sidney was an awesome character from Scream 1 to 5, even though in Scream 5 she was not a main character. If she returns, I'm there. I will watch, and
I'm here to support her.
And I will root for Sidney. But making all the stories about her, it's not something that I'm very fond of.
I think A tier, but after Nancy. I don't know, she's really interesting, but I really like the other aspects that we talked about Nancy, even though she doesn't show up in as many movies as Sidney did. I think she's really skillful and smart.
So yeah, those were the tier lists that I have made for October. What do you think?
I really liked it, and I hope everyone watching really liked it too. I love talking about horror movies and horror things. It's one of my favorite genres.
Yeah, me too. And let's see what November has to offer to us.